Laura, thank you for joining me. My
Absolutely.
guest today on the inaugural episode of this podcast, the Influ
Honored.
2 People Are People podcast type thing, is what we're going with. Laura Paciano, you are the Chief Growth Officer at TestFit, but I gotta go through your LinkedIn, if I will. So about
Oh,
a
excellent.
decade, yeah, a decade at
Don't
Sonos.
age me, Doug. Don't age
No,
me.
hey, we're talking to each other here. We'll
Yeah.
spend 5 minutes on working with Gen Z at the end. But I've got time at Sonos. We won't say how long. IPO. Then moving on to marketing at Procore, another IPO. Onto Newmetrix, which was acquired by Oracle. In 2024, you were on the top 50 women leaders in software by Software Report. And now you are currently at TestFit. So who do I talk to about getting ISOs at this place? Because you have a good track record.
It's not a bad hit rate. The thing that's funny about that path, you're like IPO, IPO. Every time I left right before IPO, like literally months or within a year of like the actual IPO. So I've never been at the company when it got to have that big celebration. But yeah, I've had some luck and skill, I guess, at picking a few winners. So it's
Yeah,
it's been
well,
fun.
yeah, there's luck, there's skill involved, but there's clearly talent behind it. So I'm surprised I got you as my first guest. This is a big get for this tiny little project we're kicking off. But
Yeah,
so you and I have history. I know you from our time at Procore, and actually, I think
yeah.
my wife and you probably crossed paths at Sonos,
I don't
maybe.
know. Yeah, I'm not
Um,
sure. I don't remember her, but
yeah,
it was big by the time I left. It was a good 2,000 people or something, not the
right.
20 some that I started with. So I
Yeah,
kind of I kind of lost track of everybody.
yeah. Well, we know your track record. Well, I wanted to talk about Santa Barbara. You live in Santa
Yeah.
Barbara. I live in Santa Barbara. What's going on here? Like, tell me about working in Santa Barbara. I've got my own opinions on it, but
Yeah.
it's not a tech hub, is it? I mean,
No.
what do you think of it?
No, in fact, I mean, I'm from Oregon originally. I picked coming to Santa Barbara based on a picture in my grandmother's Better Homes and Gardens magazine. I was like, yeah, that looks lovely. I like palm trees. I'm moving. So yeah, that's how I ended here. I had no idea that, this was going to have a few great tech companies come out of it. It's surprising, but it's also it's funny because around town, it's small town. Everybody knows everybody, and you've likely worked at one of the like four or five companies at some point. Like you've got like Yardi, you've got like Sonos, Procore's been a big one. I mean, there's Appfolio. So I think it's just a bunch of former Silicon Valley that just want to be here instead, I guess.
Yeah,
So we got lucky.
yeah.
Yeah.
You moved someplace you wanted to live first for a job necessarily, right?
Yeah. And
That's
pre-pandemic when you could work from anywhere, right? I mean, I was like, I got like struck gold finding Sonos in the first place. Like they just happened to have like some sort of Wired magazine interview that I happened to read. And I was like, wait, Santa Barbara. And yeah, happened to find it that way.
Yeah, I often hear that from people too when I say Sonos, has a headquarters or a giant presence. I know there's offices around the world,
Yeah.
but they're like Santa Barbara. Most people think that too. They just go, "What's going on in Santa Barbara?" No,
Yeah.
people are living and working. Sometimes it's difficult because it's nice and
I know.
beach weather, you go to the beach, but it's
Yeah.
cool.
Although Santa Barbara's weather is a roulette wheel. You never know what you're going to get at any moment. In fact, it was sunny this morning and now the fog has rolled in, like opposite of normal. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I've got a sweatshirt on. Yeah, it's our May gray, June gloom
yeah.
after our very tough winter. So I guess we'll take it.
Yes,
It is what
tough,
it is.
tough.
Yeah. So the thinking behind this podcast, right, is people are people, and at Influ 2, we like to talk about the person behind it in an account, right? So with account-based marketing, you're going after an account, but with Influ 2, you're targeting an individual. So I want to spend time talking about the individual. I want, what's the day in the life of Laura as Chief Growth Officer? And I'm talking, when do you look at your phone first thing in the morning? Are you checking email? Are you checking Slack? Just walk us all
Yeah.
through it because you're working remotely. I don't.
Yeah.
We can get more into TestFit later. I definitely want to chat about the company and how it's organized and what it does. But yeah, tell me about a day in the
Yeah.
life.
I mean, I'll admit I look at 6 when I get up, and mostly my daily routine is I check Slack first thing in the morning for any emergency or what I deem emergencies. There are no emergencies when you're working at, a tech company. It's not life and death, but it feels important, right? Or maybe
Yep.
it makes me feel important. I don't know what it is, but yeah, I check Slack if there's anything like I'll read most of them and then I'll just mark them as unread if I feel like I can get to that later. So like sometimes I'll respond if I feel like, there's revenue on the line and my time zone is going to slow somebody down because a lot of my salespeople are in East Coast and, so I'm trying to get back to them mostly. Then I get my coffee made and I take an urban hike in the morning. So I listen to podcasts in the morning, go for a walk. I live in like a little canyon. So I just walk over the hill, get to see the ocean, start my day that way. Come home, get a few bites of egg or something, and then I start back on Slack and getting through the stuff that I missed or unread after looking at in the first thing in the morning.
Yeah. Everyone. So you're a full Slack shop over there. That's what. Are
Yeah.
you emailing at all? I feel like
Oh
emailing is.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the emails are mostly like the client facing. I mean, my typical day I basically turned into a lawyer. I feel like I'm like reading red lines constantly for contracts, like larger contract stuff. Not ever what I thought I'd be doing, but I'm very thankful for Claude to help me through some of that.
Yes. Yes. We're deep
Yeah,
into co-work here, and
yeah,
it is amazing to have, you know, essentially an extra intern if you're good at
yeah,
giving that instructions to the intern, which I feel like
yeah,
requires a little bit of slowing down. Do you, I mean, TestFit is a 10-year-old company, maybe a little bit more. I was just reading press release, but it's a startup, right? Is that fair to
very
say?
startup. Yeah,
Okay, so then if it's very startup, are you, I mean, I like to think about the pace of things. Like, is there like,
yeah,
do you have this urgency to you, or how do you find like a center? Because I mean, you wake up every day and there's a Slack to get to. There's
yeah.
multiple Slacks. Like, what do you do to stay balanced?
I mean, yeah, we're very startup. We're like 30 people and, trying to grow at the rates that you need as a startup with ARR numbers. So there's definitely pressure. Now I definitely own the whole number and every part of that number coming into it, which kind of freaked me out initially before I took this role. But I really, the thing that centers me most is like we have a very small group of people, but they're all people I would want to hang out with. So like the company itself, not to get into that because I'll talk about my personal stuff because I know that's what you're trying to get into, but we come together, we go to these things we call Camp Test Fit, and we all hang out. And I remember coming back for my first one, and I was like, I feel like I just made like 30 new friends. And that's how it feels at work. Like we just have that kind of sarcastic. I mean, the Slack emoji game is strong, I will say. So it just keeps like humor like throughout the day, which is nice. To keep balance for me, like my husband and I leave almost every day as soon as it depends on the time of year when sunset is, but we go down to the beach every day just to like sit and talk about how was your day, and like watch the waves roll and just like usually grab a bottle of rosé, bring it down, it's a lovely time. But like that is my cutoff. I'm like, I'm leaving at could be 4 depending on when sunset is, right? Like, and I'm gonna go have my sunset and come back and then it's dinner and try not to engage again. There's definitely nights where I have to get back online and work on a project that I didn't get to throughout the day. But I had a really good mentor at Sonos actually. She was like, if you don't set your limits, you will start the expectation that you're always available. And she's like, don't do what I do, because I would get emails from her at like 1 a.m., like, oh my God. So
Yeah.
yeah, I got that lesson and I took it. I was like, this is my time. Like sunset's my time.
So you brought up something about I love going to the beach every day. Just like having access to the water. There's
I
something
know. We're so
magical.
lucky.
Yeah, something magical about that to reset you. You mentioned friends at work, and this is something I've been thinking about a lot lately, this idea of work friends and how you actually have work friends in a remote working environment. Because you and I were both at Procore. That was a company that grew in a very small town, not even Santa Barbara. It was in Carpinteria, which no one
Yeah.
has heard of really, unless you're in avocados and surfing. So
Yeah.
that was kind of like sort of like a last thing. Like those were work friends. You saw them every day. How do you,
Yeah.
do you feel like you said you did? You have friends at TestFit. Like, how do you continue to foster a relationship where you have work friends?
Yeah. I mean, I try to bring myself to work. Like, oh my gosh, I almost said authentic self. I'm very much a marketer, right? I try to, I put on my calendar personal things. Just like if I am meeting up with friends or something like that, like I want my work friends to be able to see like I'm prioritizing this.
Yeah.
We have like Slack channels that are like cooking or like, different topics where like there was like one of the guys that lived in Maine, he'd have like the big boat alert, like when you'd see like a cruise ship or something come into the harbor. So like and then people in Florida posting like the rocket ship launch, it's just like we've got random topics going to help bring that personalization. We prioritize random silent time at all hands where we just like have awkward silence at the beginning until somebody breaks. And so it's always just like it's just part of the culture, I guess, but it's something super unique and fun. I'm like, and I have to warn new hires. I'm like, just FYI, like you're gonna get on this and you're gonna think like your audio is not working. Like it's fine.
So
Yeah.
this is your routine company all hand meeting, and it starts in silence just to see who's the
It
first one
starts
to break.
until somebody breaks. Yeah.
How'd that start?
I mean, it just started originally. I mean, a lot of us are introverts too. So I think
Uh,
unless we had like somebody typical salesperson personality, that's usually how it breaks. Is like they'll talk about they can't handle it. They want to talk. And then that's how we start is something personal and fun and normal conversation with humans, right? Instead of like, okay, we're here and here's the deck and let's go through it.
right. Yeah, I love that. So okay, so it's Sonos. You're a consumer marketer. I know they
Yes.
obviously have some sort of B2B arm of the business, but you went from consumer to B2B. We are in Include we're, B2B. What's the
Yeah.
transition like? Is this
Yeah.
impossible? Are there similarities? I do hear a lot of people in B2B today say they're trying to make it more like consumer. I'd love your thoughts on it.
Yeah. I mean, I think starting in consumer is like probably the best career path for a marketer specifically. I think you learn a lot about humans. You learn a lot about what impulses they will have because even in a B2B setting, they're still dealing with humans that have buying behaviors that they carry on from whatever consumer experience they have, right? The biggest benefit I think is missing today in B2B is the value of the brand. Sonos was like all brand, right? We were trying to build this brand and trying to, I mean, it was a super fun project, right? Working on music stuff, but it really was about the brand. And I brought that with me to Procore. And in fact, I remember my interview with my boss when I first started there. Like, he was like, I don't know, you're B2C, like, we're B2B. I was like, what? Like, I learned B2C not knowing B2C, that think I can learn B2B. Like,
Yeah.
same thing. But I think that's the thing, like, especially at TestFit today, like our brand is our marketing. We do not pay for marketing. I have no paid marketing budget. It is all social. It is all the personality of the CEO on LinkedIn. It is
Hmm.
all coming inbound that way. Like that is pretty much like, I mean, we have people doing outbound, but it really is I'm not spending money. It is brand that we have built through 10 years and we're still a startup, right? So it takes a while, but that
Yeah.
equity is something that naturally attracts people and it's something I think B2B needs to invest more in.
Awesome. Well, you mentioned your CEO,
Yeah.
and I have a quote from a release which was announcing your promotion to Chief Growth Officer.
It wasn't the
I
one with the meme, was it?
I didn't see a meme in here.
Okay,
I thought it
good.
was great. I want to hear more about it. It says, and this is from Clifton, and he says, during a business trip in Chicago, Laura challenged my thinking and helped me see that we weren't trying to disrupt BIM. BIM stands for Building Information Management, if I remember
Yeah.
correctly from my construction years. We were creating a new category altogether. Well, I
Yeah.
want to hear about the trip if you even remember it, and I want to, there's always, creating a new category sounds like a lot of work, but I guess it's the right
Yeah.
thing if it's true. So, yeah, tell me about the trip. Tell me about, I guess making this argument to your boss, to your CEO.
Yeah, I think, in fact, I think we were on a rickshaw being taken from like the conference area that was like a free rickshaw or something, like
Uh-huh.
to like some other part of town or something like. And I think there may have been some imbibing happening at the conference, which maybe helped me loosen, my speaking to him. But I really, I was like, that's not even what we are, and I just kind of called him out on it. I was like, I don't think we're trying to do that. And I think there's a bunch of copycats trying to do that, but we're trying to build something totally different. And I think that that instinct of like building a category kind of came from my background. Like that's what we're doing at Sonos. There was no multi-room. There wasn't even an iPhone when we started. It was completely nuts what we were trying to do. And one of the things that, like, from Sonos that I was like, once we had docking stations, like, that was the closest thing that I could think to describe Sonos as. And I had to use that as we are not that in order to describe what we were trying to do. And so I think I told that story to Clifton and really tried to apply it to what we were trying to do, which is really like change the way that the whole industry works on development, right? So you've got these crazy contracts between architects and developers and like where the money's coming from. And it just is locking people into this process that doesn't make any sense. So we're really just trying to disrupt that whole process, not just like how do you do building information modeling of something in 3D that you're going to have to build later. So
Yeah.
uh, I think it was just taking from experience and like challenging him, when I felt like I had the guts to do that
Nice.
in a safe space, which was in the back of a rickshaw where,
In the back of a rickshaw. Yes, that's where you do it.
yeah,
That's awesome. I love that it gets into a press release, by the way, because preparing to talk to you, I read that and I actually, having written many a release and executive quote, I thought that was a good one. I love the
yeah,
actual story behind it. And I think it says something about TestFit and probably the culture you're building. So, but let's quickly talk about TestFit.
yeah,
What do
sure.
you do? What are you helping customers with? Where are you going?
Yeah, so we help at the very earliest stage before pre-construction even really begins. It's a phase called feasibility. So architects and developers are out there looking to figure out what they can get built on a plot of land. And so what TestFit does is we take all of those constraints, like site constraints could be, you've got zoning code, you've got wetlands that you can't build on, whatever it might be. And we use our, algorithms to basically determine kind of Tetris style what will fit on a piece of land. And then we give you the pro forma, all the financials behind that to determine, is this a go or no go? It's basically that first gut check of, can I make something work here? And should I spend time like having an architect put together the entire set of plans and then taking it to an investment committee to see if I can get something built? So TestFit's really about testing what's possible and finding the best use for something on a piece of land.
And you're selling to contractors, general contractors, or real
We
estate
do
developers?
sometimes, but
Yeah,
yeah, so a lot of contractors are starting to get into this game, which is pretty exciting to see. But no, that mostly we're working with developers, could be owners or just people that develop and then sell to an owner, or architects are purchasing the software because a lot of times they're doing this work for free, or they're spending 2 weeks to be able to turn around a plan, an initial site plan to somebody that's not like full building scheme, but it's like, here's the footprint, here's the general layout, like if you're doing apartments or something,
yeah,
here's the general layout and what's going to work, and here's the parking that's going to meet the ratio that the city is going to make you have. So they spend a couple of weeks doing that. So a lot of times there are purchaser to like, hey, let me turn this around in like 20 minutes and get it back to my client so I can potentially win the bid.
cool. And you said Tetris style. When if this podcast lives on longer than my 6 episode commit, and I have some fancy graphics, I would show people exactly what you're talking about because it is cool how you sort of just automatically fit in the spaces, and it does look like Tetris. So,
Yeah.
but anyone listening can go check it out. I think it's testfit.io. Yeah,
Yeah.
worth checking out. It's a cool little homepage. Laura, I think we got it. Thanks so much for being the
Yeah.
first guest. And like I said, if this goes on more than 6 episodes, maybe we'll have made history, and you'll be back as like the return guest one of those days. We
Yeah.
need
I'll be
to
like on the 100th episode, like anniversary or something. Yeah.
totally. That's the plan. Thanks so much for the time. I appreciate it.
Sounds great.